So on the surface, this is going to look like a simple explainer about how to pick the right chart for your data. But really, it's about something so much bigger. It's about this idea that all education, even a math lesson, can be a tool for building a life of peace and purpose. Let's dive in and see what that looks like.
You ever wonder about this? It's a question that can really get you thinking. We are surrounded by incredibly educated, smart people, and yet we see so much brokenness, so many destructive choices all around us. How does that happen? How can someone know so much, be so clever, and still create so much hurt?
And this gets right to the heart of what we're talking about today. The source material suggests that when you separate knowledge from a moral or spiritual foundation, well, that's when it can become a destructive force. The argument is that true wisdom isn't just about what you know, it's about who you are.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, that brings us to this Godly Learners series, which offers a totally different way of looking at things. It's an educational approach that's designed not just to build up your intellect, but to build your character, grounded in faith.
This first right here is the anchor for the whole philosophy. The idea is that a mind focused on spiritual things, that leads to life and peace. And that's really the ultimate goal of this path, to help create learners who are not just smart, but who are also filled with a real sense of peace and wisdom. Now, the crucial point here isn't to get rid of academics, not at all. It's to infuse them with a moral compass. The thinking goes that when you weave learning together with these kinds of values, you're not just preparing students for a career, you're equipping them to build lives and families and communities all founded on integrity and peace.
So how does a big, grand philosophy about peace actually translate into, say, a Monday morning math class? We're about to see it in action. Let's really zoom in on a simple lesson about data to see how these principles of clarity and purpose can be applied to something we do every day.
This is such a great analogy. The source compares it to having the right tool for the right job. Just like a warrior needs different pieces of armor for different kinds of battles, a student needs different kinds of graphs to fight confusion. Each chart has a very specific job, to bring clarity to the numbers, and in doing so, bring a little more clarity to the world around us.
Okay, let's get practical. The distinction here is simple, but it is so important. If your data is in separate categories, like apples, bananas, grapes, a bar graph is your best friend. But if you're looking at a range of numbers, like test scores, you're going to need a histogram to group that data together in a way that makes sense.
And what about a dot plot? Well, that's your go-to when you want to see how often specific numbers pop up in a small set of data. Like in the example here, if you were tracking how many minutes you spent in Bible study each day, a dot plot would instantly show you which times were most common. It's all about seeing that frequency at a glance.
All right, let's put this into practice. Here's some simple data from a church survey. We've got the raw counts for prayers, songs, and sermons. The numbers are fine, but to really understand how they relate to each other, we need to see them. And the first step is to see them as parts of a whole.
And here are those same numbers just flipped into percentages. Now we're ready to make them visual.
And boom! The second you turn those percentages into a bar graph, it all just clicks. The information is instantly easy to understand. You can see right away that prayer is the biggest chunk of these activities. It's the perfect example of how picking the right tool brings instant clarity.
Okay, so understanding the why is one thing, but this whole philosophy is really about action. It's about doing. So let's shift gears and look at the how, the actual tangible skills that bring this whole idea to life.
And you know what's incredible? Creating this kind of clarity is actually super simple. In a tool like Excel, it's literally just a few clicks. You enter your data, you highlight it, you insert the chart. The skill itself isn't that complex, but the power to turn a bunch of numbers into a clear picture, that's so valuable.
It's the same deal for a histogram. You just dump your column of numbers in, and the software does all the hard work of sorting it into logical groups for you. See, it's about letting the tool handle the mechanics so that you can focus on what the data is actually trying to tell you. And this brings us right back around to the big idea. Learning to make a chart is a useful skill, for sure. But in this framework, it's about so much more than just data. It's about learning to see the world with clarity and with purpose.
This final verse really brings the whole lesson home. It's a powerful reminder that while we have all these amazing tools to find clarity in our data, the ultimate source of wisdom for understanding life itself, well, that comes from somewhere else. And that is the ultimate takeaway. That's the heart of it, isn't it? The skill of choosing the right chart is like a small-scale model of a much bigger truth. Just like we look for the right tool to bring clarity to our work, we're encouraged to seek God for clarity in our lives.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Beyond the charts and the data, how are you going to use your knowledge for good this week? What's one small way you can apply your skills to bring just a little more clarity or a little more peace to the world right around you? Thanks for joining me on this one.